Well, folks, let's kick off the third half. Now, you all know Lauren? Yeah? Everyone here knows Lauren?
Thank you.
Now, what you'll know about Lauren is she's actually quite shy up front. Yeah? You don't really want to...
No,
No,
I just
like you do,
hate getting up here.
I just hate getting up here, right? I don't know how to put that other than... Yeah, there you go. So we're just going to speak to Lauren a little bit. Over the next 5 weeks, we're going to have a series of interviews just thinking about different aspects of evangelism. And the first one is just about making friends, because really friendship's kind of key to evangelism. Now, you might not know this, Lauren. When I was 6 weeks old, I made my first friend. No, my mum got on an airplane with me to London and then to Los Angeles and moved there. And I thought, well, I didn't think then at the time, but I think now, what an amazingly brave thing to do as a brand new mum, to leave behind all the security of her mum, her dad, her sister, to leave all that behind and go and join my dad in America. And, well, I know someone that's done something similar. Lauren, so what would make you leave behind Sydney, Australia for Brighton, the East End of Glasgow, and a wee bit of what that's been like?
Yeah, I suppose a lot of you would already know the story, so I won't delve too much into it. But for Tim and I, it was very clear that the East End, especially, didn't have very many healthy Bible teaching churches, which also means that there's not very many Christians around. And so we saw the need, and in God's kindness, He said, "You have to go." So we obeyed, and here we are.
And I guess when you arrived, you didn't really know very many people. And so evangelism, not knowing people, is not easy. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit of where you've made friends, and maybe talk a little bit, because we've spoken beforehand here, about that tension that is there between making friends and inviting people to know Jesus.
Yeah, so I suppose the two kind of biggest groups for me missionally are Bookbug, which is our local library group. So I take Olivia there every Tuesday morning and we sing nursery rhymes and read a book, and it's great fun. And so just a good way for me to meet other young mums. And then the second thing is I joined a run group last year, and I hate running. Like, I really don't enjoy it at all. But I have to do something. So I've joined a run group, and that's given me more opportunities to speak about why I'm here in Glasgow and about church and sharing my faith and things like that. But yeah, I definitely do feel this tension of just wanting to rock up at run group, for example, and not talk about Jesus. I'm like, you know what? I just want to run and not talk about the fact that I go to church. But at the same time, there's part of me that's like, no, this is really important to me. And it's actually really important for them to hear the gospel and to be asked questions about, yeah, what do you believe? And did you grow up going to church? Or, what does your spiritual background look like? So there is that tension of, I suppose, Christ compelling me that they're dead in their sin and that they need Jesus, but also just kind of wanting to live in the world and not stand out.
Well, I've just discovered you're not an evangelist for running.
No.
No.
I mean, if you love it, go for it. But
I don't know, like when you're out there running and sweaty and all that, I can't imagine that's the best time myself to be asking people.
Yeah,
but maybe that's not true at all. So can you tell us a little bit about, like, when it's gone wrong, or any sort of fails, if you like? Because what we don't want to give the impression here is that, Lauren, super evangelist, this is beyond you. That's totally not the case, right? So tell us about things that have gone wrong, or where you maybe on the way home from running or kicking yourself or whatever.
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, so there's definitely been times where I kind of work myself up to, okay, I've got run group tonight, and I'll end up running with someone that I haven't met before, and they'll ask me why I've moved to Glasgow, and so then I'll have to tell them about Jesus. And so I pray in the car, and then I get there, and then I don't say anything. And then I get back in the car, and I'm like, well, what? Why did I just work myself up to saying something, and then I didn't do it? So there's been lots of times where that's happened, where I actually haven't followed perhaps the prompting of the Spirit. And then there's, I suppose, the example, a lot of you would know that I invited Fergus, my barista, and he said multiple times that he was keen on coming to church, and he hasn't. So that's been really discouraging.
Yeah.
So that's not necessarily a fail on my part, but just hasn't happened.
Yeah. And so that tension where you're just back down from it is something I think that we all feel. I don't think that you do get people, don't you, who are just natural evangelists, and like if they haven't spoken to somebody about Jesus that day, well, it's a complete waste of a day. Whereas, oh my, we find it hard. I think it's good to acknowledge that. But one of the things I have been really encouraging as mission lead is just the amount of times that when I say something's happening, invite, you've always responded and put here's somebody to pray for, I've asked this person. So it's always been a great encouragement that you've continually asked. So at the same time you've backed down, you've met the challenge at other times, and I think it's good to acknowledge that as well. Now, we spoke and you said like one of your best friends that you'd made had been a polite and firm no. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, so would be my longest term friend. So a girl that I met in primary school when I was 5 or whatever, and we've kept in contact. We were at primary school together, and high school or secondary school, and into adulthood now. And I'd never really ever spoken to her about the Bible or coming to faith or church or anything. And then I came here, and I was like, why am I here? And I haven't even spoken to like the person that I've known for one of the longest times about Jesus. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to just ask her. So I bought this book. It was something about like Why is Christianity True by Chris Morphew. That I just know that that's the author's name, but whatever. It was one of his books. And I said to her, hey, I've been thinking about you, and I'm just wondering if you want to read this book with me. And she said, oh, if it's important to you, then it's important to me. So yeah. I was like, oh, okay, great. And then we read it, and then I shared my testimony, and she asked a couple of questions, and then she just politely declined and said, look, I'm happy for you, but it's not for me. And that was sad. But also I was like, okay, she's heard the gospel, and actually she's one step closer to Jesus than what she was before I said this. So that was kind of a bittersweet thing of the sadness of not being able to go on a journey with her to Christianity, but the sense that I was able to share the gospel with her. And actually that's what God just wants of me, is to be faithful and to open my heart to those around me. So.
And you're still friends?
And we're still friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
So
thing.
nothing's really changed. We still talk, and it hasn't become awkward or anything. It's still a normal friendship. So.
There's one of the things we did say at the start, like for not the start here, but in terms of mission and inviting people, is that sometimes your best friends are the hardest people to ask because there's the biggest relationship damage possible, but they are not at all. And I guess if it was really a good long-term best friendship thing, then why would it? Maybe can you tell us a little bit about how you were saying that you pray beforehand, and one of the things we spoke about beforehand, or really you spoke to me about, was how you realise you're not alone in this, in evangelism and making friends. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so of course we all know that like the Spirit is with us, and God encourages us to talk to people about Jesus, and so we're not alone in that. But also, I suppose I've come to realise that I'm not alone in my evangelism, and I'm not alone on the mission field. Not just because God's with me, but because I've got people who are for me. And so I think perhaps it's taken me to move to the other side of the world to realize that I've got wonderful Christian friends who are praying for me constantly. And so the amount of messages I've sent to friends, not just in Glasgow, but back in Sydney or all over, to just say, hey, I'm meeting up with someone this afternoon. Can you just pray for me? Pray for boldness, pray for wisdom as I speak to them, pray for an open heart on their behalf. And it's just really been so encouraging to be like, oh, I'm not doing this by myself. I've actually got a whole network of people who want to support me and want to see people come to know Jesus too. And so one of the stories I was thinking of was, so last year when we were putting up the fact that church was starting and there's a new church starting in the east end of Glasgow, we got a lot of hateful comments on social media. And I felt so just anxious. And I thought, are people going to come to the church on the launch day and just attack us? Is this going to be a really awful thing that's going to happen at East? And so I was feeling really nervous about it. And so I sent a message to my senior minister's wife back in Australia. And she was like, oh, Loz, I hear you and I feel like that. I felt like that before. And here's an encouraging verse for you. So I'll read it out for you. It's quite an extreme example, but you'll get the point. So it's Matthew 10, verse 28. It says, and do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy. Sorry, I'm going to get emotional. Fear him who can destroy both the soul and the body in hell. So it was just, obviously, in a very extreme example. And I mean, people might do that here, but what's the worst that people can do is that they can just say no, right? In our circumstance, I'm like, the worst that someone can say is, no, I'm not interested. And then, okay. And in Acts, it talks about actually Paul and Barnabas being expelled from their region. And so they shook off the dust from their feet as a warning to them and went to Iconium, as in this kind of picture of people didn't want them there. So they said, okay, it's time to move on and go to the next one. And so I just feel like I've had that in my mind, just I do what I need to do, God will do the rest. And if people say no, I'll just move on to the next one. And it's easier said than done. Obviously, I don't think like that all the time. But yeah, when I come back to here, it's an encouragement to me, those verses.
Thank you, Lauren. That's really helpful. Just finally, because this whole thing's been about making friends, is there anything any advice or anything you would want to leave us with in regards of making friends and speaking about Jesus? Just a final sort of thought.
I think we all just find it really difficult. And so I think just be encouraged that if you feel like you aren't good at doing evangelism, that you're not the only one. And to encourage you that there are people who also want to evangelize and make friends and invite people to church and invite someone to be sitting next to you. That's what our kind of vision day's been about. It's trying to bring someone to come and sit next to you at church. So I suppose, be encouraged that you're not the only one. Ask for prayer from your friends, from people in your growth group, and just keep trusting that God will use you for his glory and for your good.
Thank you. I just want to add to that just the thought that you might not have noticed this yet, but you're starting a new phase of life with Zoe going to school. Oh, was it good, Zoe? Yeah, good. You're going to meet a whole load of new people, and then you won't see them again ever. That's what me and Claire have discovered. And so, wherever we are, in whatever phase of life, people be coming in your life and out your life, and chance to tell them about Jesus, chance to live Jesus. We're going to pass on to Johnny and the band, and they're going to lead us from here. Thank you, Lauren. Will we give Lauren a clap?